Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant, where I give my in-depth analysis of all the pay-per-views that I watch in the WWE Network. For the entire month of January, I will be reviewing all the Royal Rumble pay-per-views, and today I'll be talking about the 2008 installment. It's been crazy how quickly this past month has gone by. We're already at the 08 installment. I started at 1996. Of course, not doing everyone since 96, only picking and choosing. But this weekend, I'll be talking about 08 today, of course, in today's video. And tomorrow, I'll be talking about the 2010 installment. Tuesday, even though I know it's past the Rumble, but I still really want to watch it and review it. It's the 2011 Royal Rumble, my favorite Rumble of all time, and I'll explain why in that video. But by the way, too, I know I picked and choose, what Rumbles I'll be talking about and watching and reviewing and whatever else. I did review the 04, 05, and then skipped ahead to 07 and 08. Someone on Twitter asked me why I skipped 06. It wasn't one of the more prominent Rumbles anyway, but I did review that Rumble, not the entire pay-per-view, but the match itself, with RJ Marceau on WrestleRant Radio this past week. We did live commentary about a month ago for the entire Rumble match, the longest Rumble match in history, I believe it was. So that entire episode is dedicated to talking about that Rumble, doing live commentary, a lot of funny, interesting stuff if you want to go back on this week's WrestleRant Radio on nextairwrestling.weebly.com and check that out if you would like. So, skipping ahead to the 2008 Royal Rumble. It's interesting because I started watching wrestling, of course, in 08. But it was in April of that year, so I never got a chance to watch this pay-per-view in its entirety. This was actually the first time, since I've gotten the network, or since, for the first time since I became a fan, that I've actually seen this entire event in its entirety. So it was really, really cool to watch back. I've actually seen the Rumble match before. I think I watched it on YouTube at one point many, many years ago with no sound. The computer that I had at the time had no sound on it. So I don't know why I even bothered watching the matchup regardless. And of course, I couldn't hear the monster pop that John Cena got that still gave me chills watching it back on the network this past week when he came out at number 30 and returned from injury. It was awesome, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, really cool to watch this pay-per-view back. Maybe I'm biased because, like I said before, 08 was one of my favorite years in wrestling, along with 02, 05, and 2011. Like I said on Twitter yesterday, maybe it's a 3-year interval thing. I'm not really sure. But still, I thought this event was very, very good, kicking it off with Ric Flair versus MVP. Now, if Ric Flair was to lose here, this was around the time where if he lost any match he competed in, he would have been forced to retire. And I don't know why MVP was involved in the match. I know they had history dating back to mid-2007 and a feud over the U.S. Championship. Maybe that's why, but still, though, the championship was not on the line here. MVP was the longest reigning champion in WWE history at this point in time. So, really good match, though. The match was pretty good. The only minor gripe that I had with it was that there was one botch down the stretch. I don't know if it was a botch or what. It was just very confusing. And where MVP hit the player's boot in the corner on Ric Flair, Ric Flair fell down right next to the rope, so you knew he was going to kick out or get his foot on the ropes or whatever. And MVP hooked the inside leg, and he got the 1, 2, 3. Charles Robinson almost actually rang for the bell before noticing that Ric Flair had his foot on the ropes. So there wasn't really much of a reaction to it. People were like, Ric Flair's actually done. He lost here. Like, they were surprised. And it felt like it was a little off. I mean, you would think it 1, 2, foot on the ropes. Like, that didn't happen. He actually counted the 1, 2, 3, and he almost rang the bell. I expect better things out of Charles Robinson. I love Charles Robinson as a referee. But other than that, though, I thought this was a good match to kick off the show. People love Ric Flair. I really like how on commentary, I mean, Jim Ross, you can never expect anything less than greatness from this guy on commentary, especially back in 08. But I loved how he was talking about how, Ric Flair wrestled in the Garden back in 1981, I think it was. Maybe it was before that, but I know he was talking about how he wrestled one of his first matches in Madison Square Garden. Could his career come to an end in that very same arena? And Ric Flair kind of talked about that before the match in a pre-match promo, so that was pretty cool. So Ric Flair goes over. He's your victor. His career stays alive for a little bit longer, so good match to kick off the show. Up next, we had JBL versus Chris Jericho. Now, the build-up to this matchup was that JBL came off of commentary, came out of retirement in late 07 when he interrupted the WWE Championship match between Jericho and Randy Orton at the 2007 Armageddon event. Coming out of retirement, coming back to Monday Night Raw, and feuding with the recently returned Chris Jericho. So the feud itself was like a blood brawl. That pretty much was what this match was. It wasn't a match. I've seen people call it like a disappointing match. I mean, going into it, I really wasn't expecting much of a match. I wasn't expecting like a great 5-star classic anyway. I never thought JBL was the greatest wrestler in the world. But still, though, I really wasn't expecting anything too special coming out of this matchup, given how the video package building it up kind of, showcased it as a brawl, as a feud, as like a ruthless rivalry where these two really want to get their hands on each other. So, I mean, the match was what it was. Like I said, it was more of a brawl than anything else. Chris Jericho was busted open, and in the video package beforehand, they were talking about how they showed how JBL had choked Jericho with a rope or a bull rope or one of the ring ropes or whatever it was. And that was pretty gruesome. I mean, this is all, of course, before WWE went PG. This is right before that, so they were able to pull that kind of stuff off. So a great visual here with Jericho, bleeding, and that was pretty cool. Of course, like I said, we don't see that much today. That's probably why. That'd probably be par for the course back then. But still, though, good match while it lasted. Didn't go too long. Jericho ended up hitting JBL, I think, with a ring bell, the same way that JBL had knocked him out a couple of weeks earlier. So a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of nice tie-ins to their previous encounters on Monday Night Raw. So the match itself was good. I didn't think it was disappointing. I thought it was okay. Like I said, I didn't expect much out of this matchup to go, to begin with. So I really wasn't. I can't say I was disappointed, but obviously it was just furthering the feud. I think they would have a rematch on Raw a short time later, and they would also be involved in the WWE Championship #1 Contenders Elimination Chamber match the following month. So they really wanted to keep this feud going. So I don't really blame them for not delivering a real finish to this matchup. Like, the people in attendance obviously were not happy that they got a fuck finish. But like I said, I didn't really have a huge problem with it. It was okay. It furthered the feud. A lot of great brawling. Jericho ended up getting the better of JBL in the end. Jericho, that is. And, leaving with his handheld raised high, but not in victory, only, out of personal pride after getting the better of JBL. But JBL walked out the victor via disqualification. So I thought it was weird, too. I didn't think... I was wondering how it was handled. Like I said, I only know this feud from the prior video package that aired previous to the matchup. But I thought it was interesting how JBL came out of commentary, came out of retirement to do this feud with Jericho. I mean, he wasn't around for too long. He was only around for about maybe a year and a half. I mean, he was on Raw for all of 2008, and then he retired at WrestleMania 25 in April. I think it was March of 2009. I think it was April, though. And, he wasn't around for too much longer. Maybe they didn't have enough roster depth. I'm not really sure why they brought JBL out of retirement. Maybe he felt like he could have one more run. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I'm sure there wasn't really people clamoring for JBL to come out of retirement. But, I thought that was interesting. Up next for the World Heavyweight Championship, or actually even before that, we had a segment. I don't know if it was in between this match and this match, or previously. I'm not exactly sure. But we had Santino come out, interrupting a segment with Maria and Ashley. And of course, this was before the PG era, when you have Ashley Massaro and Maria in the middle of the ring, and Ashley convincing Maria to do Playboy. And I think Maria was asked to do it around this period in time, and she eventually actually did end up doing it. And this was around, like I said before, long before PG. I think Maria might have been the final diva to do Playboy before they went PG in July of that year. So you know what time period it was while watching this segment. It really wasn't anything special. Santino comes out being, that heel boyfriend that everyone loves to hate at this point in time, saying, no, you're not going to do it. I'm bringing out someone else instead. You can see this guy naked if you want to, and it's Big Dick Johnson, the hilarious Big Dick Johnson, Christus Joseph, who is actually running Lucha Underground now, which is pretty comical. But, he was a former creative writer for WWE. But his on-air persona I thought was always hilarious. So Ashley takes him out, and that was pretty much it. So, merely time filler, but, it killed time. It served its purpose, so no problem there. But moving on to the next matchup, for the World Heavyweight Championship, Edge defending the gold against Rey Mysterio. So a really good match here. Edge and Mysterio have always had great chemistry. Nothing that lit the world on fire early on, but down the stretch, I thought the near falls and stuff were really, really good. Obviously, there was interference from the Edgeheads, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. They got, taken out of ringside. Vicky Guerrero was at ringside as well. Ended up coming out of her wheelchair to get hit by a 619, defending her soon-to-be husband, Edge. And that was that, and Edge ended up capitalizing. Rey Mysterio was going for the drop in the dime 619, and in midair, Edge would hit him with a spear, got the 1-2-3, still your World Heavyweight Champion. So Edge and Mysterio didn't really work too much in the, after they hit their peak in 2006, after Rey Mysterio became World Heavyweight Champion and everything else. And, Mysterio would get another World Heavyweight Championship match, also at the Royal Rumble in 2010, which I'll review here on the channel tomorrow on Sunday, if you want to check that out. Cheap plug. But I can't remember too many matches or feuds between Edge and Mysterio before this point. So it felt fresh. I thought it was a really good match. Mysterio looked good in the feet. And I think he got injured right before this, I think. Yeah, no, I think he would wrestle one more match against Edge and No Way Out. And then he was out with an injury right after that. So this was one of his final feuds before he took time off. But still, though, I thought this was a good matchup while it lasted. Edge came out victorious, still the World Heavyweight Champion. And I also liked how the story of the matchup was that Rey Mysterio was looking for one more run with the World Heavyweight title after 2 long years. So a good story told, good action. Edge comes out victorious, so a good result. So enjoy this all the way around. And that was that. Edge walks out, still your World Heavyweight Champion. Up next for the WWE Championship, Randy Orton defending against Jeff Hardy. I thought this was a very good match too. The story kind of superseded the matchup. I mean, I thought this would be a better matchup than it was early on. Orton relied far too much on rest holds and stuff like that for it to be truly special. But it was a good match, though, especially down the stretch. Down the stretch, Jeff Hardy had a very strong showing. And you knew he wasn't going to win, and you know he wasn't going to walk into WrestleMania as WWE Champion, but you can just tell. I mean, I've talked about this, at length before here in, past WrestleRant videos from pay-per-views that I watched in 08 and 09, that Jeff Hardy was so freaking over around this period in time when his music hit, before he came out for this matchup. The crowd, everyone in the audience came to their feet just, celebrate Jeff Hardy coming to the ring and cheering him on. So he was so over even at this point in time. But it obviously was still too soon for him to win the gold. Randy Orton had to go into WrestleMania as champion. And Jeff Hardy at the time was the Intercontinental Champion, who JR mentioned on commentary that Hardy would be the third man in history to accomplish that, just, that feat of winning both the WWE and Intercontinental titles at the same time behind the Ultimate Warrior and Triple H. So I really like that matchup. I mean, like I said, the title was never really in jeopardy, even though Jeff Hardy, looked strong in defeat. The story they had going into this matchup, though, I thought was stellar, with Randy Orton taking out his brother Matt, or taking out Jeff's brother Matt backstage in that one angle on the final Raw of 08, I think, or of 07, I think it was. And Jeff Hardy later delivering the Swanton Bomb off the Titantron in a moment for the ages. So I thought the story going in was really, really great. The match I didn't think was excellent, but I did think it was solid early on and did get better down the stretch, especially down the in the final few minutes in the nitty gritty of it, especially the finish too. I thought the twist of fate into the RKO, I thought that was stellar in a great way for Orton to come out victorious with a clean win under his belt, which he didn't get many of in the final few months of 2007 in his feuds with Jericho and Michaels and others. So very good match here. Orton still your WWE Champion. And of course, we get to the main event, the 30-man Royal Rumble matchup. So I thought this was a really good Rumble, and I thought it was one of the better Rumbles that I've seen. Like I said, maybe I'm biased because my favorite years are 02, 05, 08, and 2011, and all those Rumbles that I've seen so far are all great. So maybe that was just it, and maybe it just brings back memories for me because that was when I started watching wrestling in 2008. But on the whole, though, I thought this was a really good Rumble. And I love the fact, too, that they were in Madison Square Garden. They went all out and making it feel special by having Bruce Buffer come out and do the in-ring introductions for both the first and second participants in The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, as well as when John Cena won at the end. So I thought that was really, really cool. Who was famous for doing, "Are you ready to rumble?" So I thought that was great. And like I said before, it really made the match itself feel really, really special. Apologize my botch. But yeah, I thought that was great. So that really added to the specialty of the match as well. But I mentioned Michaels and Undertaker kicking off the matchup from 1 and 2. And what was so significant about that was that, of course, when I talked about this in my 07 Rumble review, these two were the final two in the Rumble the previous year, which I don't know had been done before. If you take, the last two in the Rumble from the year before and have them kick off the Rumble the following year, I don't know if that had been done before, but I thought it was really unique. I thought it was great. They both lasted well over half an hour, and Shawn Michaels was able to get some retribution by eliminating The Undertaker before getting eliminated by Mr. Kennedy, who was also, on a hot streak at this point in time, and he had been feuding with Mr. Kennedy going into this pay-per-view. So I thought that was really, really cool. And the best way to kick off the Rumble match, it already kicked off on a high note with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, so I thought that was great. So good stuff there, and also would plant the seeds for their eventual WrestleMania feud. I mean, going into the following year at WrestleMania 2009 and WrestleMania 25, they would clash in 07 in the Rumble match, in 08 in the Rumble match, in 2009 at WrestleMania, and 2010 at WrestleMania as well. So a lot of history there, obviously, between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. So other high points of this matchup, Batista would have a pretty good showing. He was out for a period in time before he ended up coming back at the end, down the stretch. And legends in this matchup would include Rowdy Roddy Piper and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I thought both of their cameos were great, given their history in MSG. Not only separately, but together, of course. They had that epic feud back in the 80s, the coconut and everything. So I thought that was really, really cool. I mean, neither guy was in the best of shape, obviously. Even when Jimmy Snuka was eliminated by Kane, it looked like Jimmy Snuka was going to get back in the ring. It looked like he was confused and he was about to crawl back in before the referee said, no, those are the rules of the match. You can't go back in. So I thought that was pretty comical. But, yeah, like I said, they weren't in the best of shape. They didn't have the strongest showings. They were both in there for about a minute or two. But, still, I thought it was really, really cool to bring those guys in for the MSG Rumble. I mean, it brought back a lot of memories for those old school fans who grew up watching these guys in the Garden. And another cameo, also from Mick Foley, who I believe was already announced for the Rumble, so that wasn't really a surprise. He didn't really have the most lasting impression in this matchup. I mean, he had a decent showing. Didn't eliminate anybody. He ended up getting eliminated by Triple H, which is, also very, very noteworthy given their history also in the Garden back in 2000. So I thought that was pretty cool too. But, still, I think Mick Foley could have had more of a significant role like he did in the 2012 Rumble, where he also competed. And I thought that was interesting, too. I was thinking back in my mind that he competed in the Rumble for 4 different year intervals. He competed in 2004 in a cameo appearance quickly by eliminating Randy Orton. Which I also think that was not in the Garden. WrestleMania that year was in the Garden. That's what it was. And 2008 was the year where he competed in the Rumble, obviously, in this match. And he would also compete in the Rumble in 2012 in his final, I think, in-ring appearance ever before he retired a couple months later. So that was pretty significant. So I thought that was interesting. And other stories from this matchup, there weren't many. Umaga had a pretty good showing. He was in there for a while. It was really, John Morrison had a pretty good showing as well, being there for nearly half an hour. And that guy was only a tag team champion at the time, and even still, he had a very strong showing against the most of the elite in this matchup. But the stuff with Hornswoggle and Finlay was really weird. I mean, they didn't really explain it all too well on commentary. It didn't really last. I expected. I think they ended up explaining it in a way the next night on Raw or later on SmackDown. I'm not really sure how they ended up explaining it, but Hornswoggle was involved in the matchup. He would go underneath the ring, he would come back in, he eliminated The Miz, whatever else, and then Finlay, I guess, jumped the gun and ended up coming in and saving Hornswoggle from Big Daddy V and Mark Henry, and Finlay got disqualified, even though, years later, The Miz would jump the gun and come in early. I don't know what the explanation was. I don't know how you get disqualified from the Royal Rumble. I mean, I don't know if it was because he used a shillelagh or just because he came in early. I'm not really sure, but that was kind of confusing. But for what it was, I thought it was really, really cool. So, or not, it wasn't really, really cool. I thought it was just really, really confusing. Wrong C word there. But yeah, I thought that was confusing. Kind of took away from the matchup a little bit. But on the whole, I thought this was a good Rumble. And, of course, we get to number 30, the return of John Cena, something that nobody saw coming. Not like Edge in 2010, which we'll talk about in my 2010 Royal Rumble review coming up tomorrow. And, like I said, well, people thought that would happen. People thought there was a chance that Edge might come back early. Nobody thought John Cena would be back as soon as he did. He only got hurt in October of 2007, came back less than 3 months later, 100% back from injury. So that was absolutely unbelievable and one of the best returns. I don't care what you think about John Cena, whether you like him or you hate him, whether you love him or hate him, you have to admit this was one of the best Rumble returns in history. The reaction he got. I mean, he got some boos when he was in the ring, like when he was trading blows with Triple H. They were obviously favoring Triple H, which I also thought was really cool. The story there was that Triple H won the Rumble back in 2002. I mean, he didn't win it in Madison Square Garden, but he did return in Madison Square Garden in 2002 and won the Rumble that same year. So that was pretty cool. But, that was kind of the story they were telling here. But even though John Cena was not the most favorable superstar, I mean, people were shocked to see him back. The reaction he got was unreal. When they showed the crowd reactions, people were standing up out of their seats, just not happy, not angry. They were just more shocked more than anything else. And the reaction he got was unreal. Like I said, I got chills just watching it. But, and of course, John Cena would come down to him and Triple H and Batista. So very interesting three, because Batista and Triple H were, of course, the main event of WrestleMania 21 3 years prior. Cena and Batista were the final two in the Royal Rumble in 2005, the same match that Batista won. And Batista had already had a Rumble win under his belt in 05. 3 years before that, Triple H had won it. Now 3 years later, John Cena was about to win it. So I thought that was really cool. And this was before John Cena and Batista had faced off at SummerSlam that year. This was before John Cena and Triple H had faced off at Night of Champions that year. So this was, the year that John Cena would clash with all these different top-tier superstars for the first time or second time in Triple H's case. So it was awesome. I mean, people were coming unglued for the final three in this matchup. Batista would get taken out by Triple H, I think it was, and ended up coming down to John Cena and Triple H. Like I said before, I really liked how it was given more time and they didn't rush into the finish or anything. I loved how it came down to, like in 07 or in 05, when they gave Cena and Batista some time, when they gave Undertaker and Shawn Michaels some time. They gave a lot of time to John Cena and Triple H. So I thought that was really, really cool. And John Cena ended up reversing a pedigree into an FUing Triple H over the top rope to win the match. So a great finish to the matchup. Obviously, a lot of people not happy. The boos that he got in that matchup were just unbelievable, seeing how he had just come back and they were already booing him, which was, typical Cena hate. It was par for the course at the time. But still, the fact that he came back so early made for a moment for the ages. So if there's obviously one moment that you should go back and watch from this matchup, it should be that finish when John Cena came back. The reaction he got was, absolutely surreal and nothing like anything that anyone had ever seen in the Rumble match before. So that was great. No one had ever won the Rumble match from number 30 except for The Undertaker. So 2 years in a row, The Undertaker, John Cena winning the Rumble match from the coveted number 30 spot. So that was, unprecedented. But, on the whole, I enjoyed the Rumble. Not too many stories, but like I said, maybe I just enjoyed it because I, grew up as a fan in 08, and I probably just have personal bias towards that year. But the Legend cameos were great. A lot of good showings from Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. The best way to open the match with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and the best way to close the match with Triple H and John Cena, and everything else was nice filler. So I enjoyed the Rumble match, the pay-per-view on the whole. I gave it a thumbs up. I thought it was a good show. I didn't think it was an awesome show, but I did think it was a pretty good show. I think Ric Flair and MVP had a pretty good match. JBL and Jericho, some people said, had a disappointing match. For what it was, they furthered the feud. It was brutal. It was bloody. If you like that kind of thing, you'll enjoy it. And the two world title matches I thought were very solid and very good as well. I enjoyed both matches, and two champions coming out victorious. And of course, like I said before, I already made my thoughts known on the Rumble match. I thought that was also very good and was worth watching for the beginning and the end only. But if you want to watch the entire match, feel free, because I thought it was a very entertaining Rumble match on the whole. So like I said, I give this pay-per-view a thumbs up. I thought it was a good show. Go back and watch it on the WWE Network before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view tomorrow as I record this on Sunday. Should be great. Very much looking forward to it. Hopefully we get another great Rumble, much like this one. So tomorrow I will be talking about the 2010 installment of the Royal Rumble and the 2011 installment on Tuesday. Like I said before, it is 2 days after the pay-per-view, but it is what it is. I really wanted to watch that show. I watch it every year, but I have yet to actually review it here on the channel, coincidentally enough. So we can watch it. Or I'll be watching it this upcoming weekend, or today, tomorrow, whatever, and I'll be reviewing it on Sunday. So make sure to, or on Tuesday. So make sure to stay tuned for that 2010 review and 2011 review coming up here on the channel. So of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. Make sure to share as well. I'll be back with a review of the 2010 Royal Rumble tomorrow here on the channel. And until then, guys, have a great day, and I'll catch you guys then.